All right, so we're going to move into Unit 5, which is going to deal with plant nutrition. So some of this is going to be reviewed. Some of this is going to highlight some things that we talked about in Unit 4. Some of this will be brand new. So Unit 1, or Section 1, 5.1, however you want to call it, is going to make you think about the relationships between essential nutrients, or also called essential elements, kind of get you thinking as of you need essential elements. So do plants, all living things need essential elements. What those are, we'll visit nitrogen fixation, and it'll kind of get your mind rolling on where elements come from to kind of wrap up the week. So if you have not watched the intro video, the YouTube video that is linked in your pacing guide, you need to do that. Whether you pause this video now and watch it, or you watch it when this PowerPoint video is over. One of the two, you need to watch that video, please. So what do humans need to live? Well, since we're in a virtual world right now, I can't ask you that question in person. So I kind of bulleted some things there that most people may see or may say if we were in class. Food, sleep, air, typically what you get. It's not wrong, but let's think a little bit deeper, okay? Let's think more along the lines of nutrients and elements. And if you've had, which all of you have had, at least one life science course up to this point, well, think back to some of those nutrients and elements that we talked about with humans, or animals rather, not just humans, but animals in general. We talked about carbon. Okay, carbon is the backbone of life. We talked about oxygen. Of course, there's phosphorus in there. There's calcium. We can also talk about macromolecules, talk about proteins, carbohydrates, lipids, all of those words. So when we think about things that animals and humans need to live, those should be what kind of comes to mind. Okay. Plants are going to be the same way. And we've talked about that to this point. So we need to think about, okay, if this is what animals need to live, what do plants need to live? And let's look and see if there's any correlation or relationship between those elements. So important for human survival. Okay? Why do we need air, water, and food? Right? Let's just focus on us as humans. Why do we need air, water, and food? Well, water is the medium which gives us life. Right? Human cells, most of your body is water, okay, and water is also the chemistry of life. Water gives us it's a universal solvent, so a lot of nutrients dissolve in it. It transports materials within our body. That's why our body is typically made up of mostly water. Um, and then from air and food, energy and chemical building blocks of cells come from air and food. And so the food that we ingest is going to provide us sugar, and we need oxygen from the air to do cellular respiration, which is going to break those sugars down to release ATP and the energy that's going to power your body. So everything that we need comes from one of those three sources, okay? Air, water, or food. So do plants need food? Okay, so as we just said, remember that animals eat plants to obtain energy, or animals eat animals that ate a plant to obtain energy. The plants are going to be the bottom of the energy pyramid. Plants need essential elements as well. Okay, essential elements and essential nutrients are going to be used interchangeably, which means sometimes they're called essential elements, sometimes they're called essential nutrients. A nutrient is a substance that organisms need to live and grow. It's an important vocab term. Okay, plants are no different. Certain plants need more of certain nutrients, but there are key elements or key nutrients that all plants need: primary, secondary, and micronutrients, which we've talked about before. Elements are often combined into larger molecules that living things use. For example, water is an important nutrient for organisms. Water is made up of the elements hydrogen and oxygen. And if you think back to photosynthesis, we talked about how the splitting of water frees up electrons, which drives the process. So not only is water going to bring in nutrients, water itself and the breaking down of that molecule drives a life process. So an essential element is required for a plant to complete its life cycle. It cannot be replaced by another element. It is directly involved in the plant's metabolism and is required by many different plants. So if we look at essential plant nutrients and compare it to essential animal nutrients, we need to do it on a periodic table. And I tried something different here. It kind of worked out, kind of didn't, but you get the drift. So we're going to look at the similarities between plants and animals when it comes to nutrients off the periodic table. So what is shaded here yellow, and like, kind of off a little bit, but it's okay. These are essential nutrients for plants, okay? And your primary ones, of course, again, being nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, okay? And then, of course, hydrogen and oxygen is in there as well. And then you have your secondary, and then you have your micro. So if we compare and contrast here, the purple ones, there's even more here. The purple shaded boxes are the ones that plants and animals share. The blue ones are going to be animals only, and the yellow ones again are going to be plants only. So there's a lot of layover. There is some differences, but there's a lot of correlation between the essential nutrients for plants and animals, and it makes sense if you think about the base of most food webs, which is going to be some type of primary producer, which is your plants. So the nitrogen cycle, we talked about carbon fixation quite a bit in biology. We've talked about it in here. We'll talk about it some more. Nitrogen's the same way. Okay, so where do plants get their nitrogen from? Well, nitrogen, of course, makes up a lot of our atmosphere, as in two, but it is inorganic. And what that means is that it has to be fixed or turned into organic nitrogen for plants to be able to take it up. And animals get their nitrogen from the plants they digest. So plants are important for introducing nitrogen into the food web, right? But how do plants get nitrogen? Well, there's symbiotic relationships with bacteria that fix nitrogen in their root systems. Okay, certain plants are more equipped to build these relationships than others. We'll talk about legumes here in a minute, which are like peas, as an example of that type of plant. Their root system and their chemical structure is an ideal match for bacteria that are going to fix nitrogen. The bacteria is going to get sugar from the plants. In return, the bacteria will fix nitrogen, which the plants will take up to use in their systems. And then when that plant is eaten by animals, then nitrogen will be transferred there. And then those animals are eaten by other animals, so on and so forth. So I kind of got ahead of myself before I got in this slide. That's fine. Legumes such as peas and beans, a symbiotic relationship with bacteria that live in their roots. The bacteria use sugar from plants to produce high energy, and in return, the bacteria is going to take nitrogen from the air and convert it into a form that the plants can use, or in other words, convert it into organic nitrogen. Organic meaning that living things can use it. Inorganic means living things cannot use it. So one thing I want you to think about is, why is this information, or why is this important to the farmers? Okay, anything that can be done naturally is always a good thing. So why is it important to understand these symbiotic relationships? And just kind of think about that going forward. So that's the end of this video. Okay, be sure you complete the form that goes with this. Also, another reminder, go back and watch that intro YouTube video that goes with this PowerPoint presentation if you have not done so already. If you have questions, please let me know. Thank you.